Hey, it's your friend Christiano, and welcome to the Queer Quest Podcast. Hello, all you fabulous souls, and welcome to this week's episode of Dear Christiano on the Queer Quest Podcast. I am your host, Christiano Green, a transformation coach for people in the LGBTQIA plus community. So this week's topic on Dear Christiano is all about how a lot of people in our community struggle when it comes to our lives. And oftentimes we live in a world of fantasy, or we wish for something different because what we had or what we currently have isn't actually supporting us. It's maybe making us feel like we're in survival mode instead of thriving, and we wish to be thriving. So let me start by reading out the post that I have on my social media on Facebook, which is usually where this all starts from. I get into a little, idea and I write about it, and then I come on here and I share more in depth about that. So let's jump in there. So this one is, Dear Christiano, there were so many points in your life when you wished you could trade it all in for a different story. To be the number one tennis player in the world, to be a celebrity, to be a world-renowned motivational speaker. Different dreams, but the same heartbeat underneath. The desperate desire to be liked, to be adored, to finally be loved. Because in those early years, you had no one, not a single friend. You were the loner, the invisible one, the kid too scared to speak. And who could blame you? You had been severely bullied, picked on, shoved around, and you carried all of it in silence. The family didn't know how to reach you. They never asked, you never shared. So you built another world, a fantasy where you weren't broken, where people cheered for you instead of mocked you, where you were safe. But when you finally came out and started finding friends, something else began. People pleasing. You became whoever someone wanted you to be. You were sincere in your longing for connection, but not always true to yourself. You had become so skilled at morphing and adapting that it felt real, but it wasn't. And beneath all those layers, the truth was still there. You don't feel worthy of being you. It's taken years of peeling back those layers. Years of facing the pain you once numbed with fantasy. Years of learning how to love yourself for who you are, not who others wanted you to be. And still, the healing continues. Some days you think, I'm good now. But then it creeps back, reminding you there's still more to face. Still more to feel. The truth is this. The greatest gift that you can give yourself is to stop wishing for another life. You were given these cards, this hand, this story. And the freedom, it doesn't come from discarding it. It comes from learning to play it better. If the hand doesn't work for poker, change the game. Play solitaire, play bridge. Keep reshuffling until you find the way those same cards deal you a winning hand. Because the hand you hold, it's yours. And that alone makes it worth playing. With love, Christiano. So that was what sparked this episode, of course. And the truth is that there were so many times in my life that I wished I had a completely different life. As I mentioned, through the beginning of that script there was me wishing at some point to be the best tennis player in the world, to be a celebrity, to be a world famous speaker. Now, at the root of all of these desires and these fantasies, and some of these fantasies I've lived in my mind for years. So almost feels like I've been there, done that, and experienced it. I've been up on the podium, for every Grand Slam with a motivational speech and preparing what I would say and how I would feel and how the world and the crowd would be cheering for me and loving me and adoring me and seeing me as worthwhile and worthy and someone who deserves all the love in the world. Because the truth is that all I really wanted was to be liked, to be adored, to be loved. When I grew up in school, I really had no friends at all. I was a loner. I got severely bullied every single day, picked on, pushed around, called every name under the sun. And I thought I was worthless, thought I was useless. I thought that my life wasn't worth living. And there was a point where I even contemplated suicide. I dealt with a lot of depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, all of these internalized emotions. I didn't know who to talk to about it because I felt like I couldn't trust anybody because I felt unsafe in the world. And that's a really scary place to be. And of course, when you feel unsafe in the world, it's quite normal that then you would go internalized and create a fantasy where you did feel safe, where you did feel liked, where you did feel adored, where you did feel loved. And that's exactly what I did. From dealing with all of that childhood pain to moving into being a people pleaser when I finally did find friends and create all these fantasies around it. And sometimes I would tell people what they wanted to hear in order for them to like me. I would make up stories of who I was to other people so that they would see me in a different way. And really, all of that led to a big, big, big lesson that I really want to, portray today, which is all about learning how to play the cards that you've got instead of trying to find some different cards. We are who we are. And the better we get to know ourselves and to learn how to overcome some of that pain that we've had in our life, to turn it into our hour, into our message, the message of the message, that's something that is a gift that we can give to ourselves. It's a healing experience, it's a growth experience, and it really leads to deep transformation for all of us. If you've ever wondered, why am I still carrying pain that doesn't even feel like mine? You're not broken, you're brilliant. But brilliance gets buried under years of shame and silence and survival. And that's why I made this. I'm Christiano Green, a queer transformation coach and the founder of Queer Quests. I created a free queer healing guide to help LGBTQA plus souls begin the journey back to themselves. Inside, you'll discover the 3 core stages of queer healing, powerful journal prompts, and a roadmap to stop surviving and start thriving. This isn't some fluffy self-help PDF. It's the spark your soul has been waiting for. You deserve to heal, not just for your past, but for your future. Download the 3 guide now. And if no one ever told you this before, your healing is holy. And your queerness, it's your power. So grab your free guide now via the link in my bio or just comment below and I'll send it to you directly. Because when you struggle with having no friends, not a single one, the ache of being a loner, of feeling invisible, of actually being afraid of other people, when you are severely bullied, you're pushed on, picked on, labeled, ridiculed, called all of the things out there. And then you come home and there's silence at home. People don't know how to connect with you. You're different to your other, to the other children. You pull back, you don't give anything. And your parents, they don't know necessarily how to connect with someone who is a queer child because they never had one. Maybe they didn't know any other people in their entire life. So to deal with someone who is a little bit different, who is someone who doesn't give much and who then, feels like, pushed away, and I push people away as well, it really leads to a lot of that disassociation, which is us disassociating from the experiences, from the difficult emotions, and we move into other things such as numbing and avoiding. And for me, avoiding was living in and slipping into those fantasy worlds to cope with all of that because I didn't know how to cope. And our brains are very, very powerful things. And they find ways in order for us to cope with difficult situations. They're actually there to help us. Unfortunately, though, some of these things, some of the ways that they go about it don't actually work for us in actually helping us in the long run. They may be a very short-term fix, and there's that instant gratification, that quick fix that you learn as well, which then, of course, for a lot of queer people leads into, alcohol, drugs, prescription medication, because those are the quick fixes, right? The sex, all of the different things that can help you to shift an emotional experience that you're going through that's negative and maybe find a more positive one. because that's what I did as well. I got caught up in all of that as well. And so disassociating from my life, from my emotions and avoiding it, going into fantasy, numbing it, led to these problems that I created in my life for myself. Like I said, dealing with substance abuse issues for many, many years to, like I said, living in fantasy, wishing that I was the best, like, I mean, if I counted all of the different fantasies that I've had in my world, in my life, it would be able to fill up books and books and books, because literally they are very detailed and in depth. And maybe at some point I really thought I should write novels, because all of them were about a big and the full story of literally feeling loved, adored, feeling worthy, feeling valued. And the loneliness that us queer people, especially queer, youth, kids, feel when no one truly sees us or understands us or hears us, it leads to these experiences. And I know that I'm not the only person out there who's lived in a fantasy world. Like, our brains are very, very smart, what people might call supercomputers, right? Where they can come up with a lot of different ways to help us cope with difficult situations. And for me, my brain has been my biggest blessing, but also the biggest curse in the end, because again, those instant gratifications have helped me so much in the moment, and I'm so grateful for those. But again, trying to overcome that and actually properly live in the world when you are safe, when you are happy, when you are creating a life for yourself that is worth living, sometimes in the moments of difficulty, if you don't really have that focus, you fall back into those old patterns. Because isn't it true that living in that fantasy, like, isn't that bad? I don't know how many times, that 30 minutes to an hour before going to bed, where I've literally been in that fantasy world. And it felt good. It felt like I was preparing myself to dream. And I was dreaming, right? But in the waking lives, creating all of these stories and scenarios and situations where I got exactly what I needed for myself. And that in itself wasn't a terrible experience. But again, when it's the way that you cope and that is your only way, instead of really trying to actually deal with the underlying problems, it can become other issues, which then, of course, for me, led into being a big, massive people pleaser. Like I said, when I started to come out and I started to go out in the party scene, and I started meeting other people that were just like me, and I wanted to find friendships so badly because I was so lonely, I started pleasing everybody else, starting to try to make friends, becoming whoever someone wanted me to be. It was a real sincerity in longing for that connection. And it wasn't disingenuous in any way in how I was trying to show up. But the thing was, is because I was adapting so well, what it really started to feel like was, this is the real me. But even though I was telling people stuff that wasn't really true, I was trying to make myself better. Like, I'm pretty sure when I was, well, not pretty sure, I know that I was telling people that I grew up in Hawaii and I made up these stories of just all these different little things that tried to make me sound better than I was. And they were all little white lies that didn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. And when I look back on them, I'm like, those have nothing to do with who I am. But I wanted other people to see me in this mystical way or in a better way. And, so that I was like, oh, look at this interesting person. But the truth was, is that, I was living in the fantasy, trying to make that real in my mind. And then I was telling other people some of those porky pies because I wanted that to be true so badly. I mean, you may relate to this as well. You may be someone who's gone out there and told some of these porcupines, the little white lies, just in order for you to feel better in the world, feel better in your own skin. You ever feel like the world wasn't built for you? Like you were born queer, and then you had to spend your whole life recovering from what that meant to everybody else. Yeah, me too. But I turned that pain into purpose. My name is Christiano Green. I'm a queer transformation coach and the founder of QueerQuest, the world's first personal development platform created exclusively for LGBTQA plus people. We don't just talk about healing or growth and self-love. We live it. We teach it. We queer the hell out of it. I built QueerQuest because I wanted every queer person to have access to the tools, to the teachers, and to the community that helped save my life. And I'm talking emotionally, spiritually, physically, all of it. This isn't just a platform. It's a revolution of self-return. A sacred space where your queerness is celebrated, your truth is seen, and your excellence is activated. So if you're ready to grow, to heal, and to rise as the queer badass that you were born to be, come join us. Your quest begins now. And the truth is that queer folk often learn how to morph as that survival skill. And this is what I want us to reflect on right now. We often learn our brains are powerful to morph as survival skills. And that survival skill can later become a prison because then you're stuck in this story that you've been telling people. And it's very hard to go back to people and say, yeah, I made all of those things up. You know that when I said that I was this, this, and this, none of that was true. Because isn't that scary to go back and tell people that you were lying or making up things or falsifying information just because you wanted people to like you, wanted people to love you, wanted people to see you as someone interesting and cool because you were a loser and a loner growing up. When I said loser, like, I don't know, you believe I was a loser, but that's how I felt. So I'm using that label, by the way. But that, you know what, the situation is that it's very difficult to go back from that. And then you can feel trapped in that prison of like, feeling like I'm not being honest and truthful, and then you're living in this world and it's a bigger deal. But like I said, as you unlayer it, sometimes that just sets you free from the prison and helps you to move forward, to heal, to grow, to actually become the person you are. So then you realize that that person's actually worthy and deserves love and is going to have people that do support you and want to be your friend and love the real you. And that's what I've got in my life right now. But people who see me for exactly who I am, I don't pretend to be anybody else, but I had to go through and I've had to unravel all of that stuff and really come to the truth of who am I beneath it. And that's kind of the next real point that I want to talk about is the pain beneath all of the mask is what we actually need to focus on. Because the morphing, as much as it was trying to heal myself, it was also masking pain. And it also created more pain from it. Because I didn't feel worthy of being me. I didn't feel worthy of being the specific person that I am. Fantasy wasn't just imagination. It was avoidance. I was avoiding those difficult situations. I was avoiding the person that I thought was not worthy or not good enough and avoiding it. And again, our brain is a powerful tool and it learns really skillful things to in order for us to try to either avoid those or not manage those situations and cope. So people pleasing wasn't just kindness and me trying to be a beautiful person to everybody else and whatnot. It was actually fear. I was afraid if they saw the real me, if I showed up as someone XYZ, then I wouldn't be liked, I wouldn't be loved, I wouldn't be adored, and I would realize that I am that little loser that I grew up feeling that I was. So the real reflection here is how masks actually protect us. Yes, they do. And that's why we use them, because our brain is trying to help us cope and to be good to us. They actually distance us from true intimacy and true connection and true friendships with people, true relationships. Because if you're not being yourself, how can you truly be intimate with someone? Because really at the core, what intimacy is that you see each other for who they are, and you love on each other, you support each other, you truly connect to that person, right? You can't connect to someone truly on that level when you know that you're masking, you're pretending, you're showing up as somebody else, right? It's false intimacy. It's not real. Maybe the other person feels intimately connected to you, but you don't feel that way to them fully because you're like, I know that that's not me. You know deep down, right? And I know that you know what I'm talking about if you've had experiences just like me as well. And this is why it's an ongoing healing process. It's really a lot of work to peel back those layers one at a time. Don't try to do everything at once. One at a time. Peel back the mask, peel back the layers, and stay like, I'm ready to face this. I'm ready to face myself. I'm ready to see myself, to give myself compassion and grace for whatever white lies or stories or porcupines that you told people because you thought that was what they needed, they wanted from you, right? It's okay to say, you know what, I am worthy, I am deserving, I'm allowing of that. And it takes time. And like I said, that's why it's peeling back layers and it's an ongoing process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's taken years and years and it's still ongoing for me. That's why the topics come up right now, because I'm going into these moments right now. I'm thinking about them more and more and more. and how much I masked and how much I avoided and how much I told these little stories just in order to feel not like a lonely person or a loser, and to feel, like I said, accepted, loved, appreciated, honored, all of the feelings that we know, feeling worthy, right? There's that illusion of I'm good now. But we all know that wounds resurface if we don't properly work through them and we don't continue to work through them. Because again, all of those wounds are layered and it's not just one experience. It's probably layers and layers of those experiences. That's why it's important to keep doing the work, keep realizing when something pops up that it's there to be addressed instead of avoided. Which is why if you're someone who's living in the fantasy, living in that world of telling those stories and or living in that, even if it's not sharing it with other people and you're doing it, you're harming yourself long term if you keep on doing that instead of, because you're telling yourself that my life right now isn't worthy or isn't worth living. And when you're telling that to the world, to the universe, you're going to get back everything that supports that. Which is why if you're trying to live in that fantasy world, you're trying to avoid the situations, which again, your brain's so smart to do. But we need to try to take over from this and say, look, I'm going to steer you in the direction of healing, of growth, of true authenticity into who I am, because I do deserve that. And you do deserve that. You really, really do. And
you've survived closets, shame, rejection, silence, perfectionism, burnout, and heartbreak. But survival was never the end goal. It's time for your queer comeback. I'm Christiano Green, queer transformation coach and the creator of The Queer Comeback, a free webinar for LGBTQIA+ souls ready to heal, ready to rise, and ready to reclaim who the F they are. This isn't self-help, it's queer soul revival. Inside this masterclass, I'll share the 3 things every queer person needs to know to finally break free from society's judgments, awaken their queer spirit, and live unapologetically, spiritually, emotionally, and fully embodied. You weren't born to shrink. You were born to come back louder, softer, fiercer, wiser, queerer than ever. This is your invitation to come home to yourself. Join the Queer Comeback, free, live, transformational, because your next chapter doesn't start with shame, it starts with you. Sign up now, link in bio.
And so here today, if there's any point that I can get across to you, it's that learning that healing is never going to be a finished line, but it's actually just a deep relationship with yourself. When you're healing, you're connecting to yourself more. You're saying, I deserve to see myself, to love myself, to honor myself, to have compassion for myself, to forgive myself for whatever it is, right? For whatever it is, you deserve that. And so reflection here is how the progress we make can be, measured with quicker recovery, not absence of pain. So think about this. It's not about avoiding the pain. It's about processing it, understanding it. But how can you measure it properly with a quicker recovery if you don't face the pain, if you continue to avoid it with the fantasies that we're talking about? And again, at the end of my, what I share, I was talking about a metaphor, a card game metaphor, which was, the poker versus the solitaire versus bridge or whatever card game you play in, and talk about playing the hand that you're dealt. Because we all get, a set of cards in life. And sometimes the game that we're playing, poker, isn't the right cards set up for us. We need to figure out, how do we change the game where our cards win? You can't trade in the hand. You can only learn to play it better. So refraining from talking about all these bad cards or bad situations that you've been given and dealt in life, and actually look at them as opportunities to change the game, not yourself, right? You don't need to change who you are. You just need to accept yourself, to see them as opportunities, to see that you have all these beautiful opportunities around you, but maybe we just need to take off some of the masks so we properly see it. Because if we've got all masks, all of these fantasies and all this stuff that we're living in, and we're looking at the cards and they don't look bloody good because we're looking through these lenses that we've got here, it's going to be difficult for you to see the hand for what it is. And the empowering person that's truly within inside of you, that really is longing to come out, is the one that, you get to choose the rules that you play by now. Don't listen to the world telling you who you need to be or what you should be or how you should live or who you should be with or all of the things. You should decide how you live. And if you really go deep, you'll know that it's going to come from a beautiful, loving place because that's who you are in core. You're not going to be, if you live by the rules, you're not going to be someone who is dodgy and cheating and nasty. If you're really truly coming from your soul, your core, your beauty within you, right? And that's the empowering part is, again, if you really look and take off those masks and work hard by continuing to peel off those layers, you're going to see the cards for what they are. And you get to choose the rules that you play by now. And, this is us as a community, as a community of queer people, reclaiming agency in our lives when we stop wishing for another life and we actually start shaping this one that we've got. Isn't that a beautiful thought? How we can reclaim our agency and the power and be empowered in our life when we just start stopping wishing for another life and we start shaping the one that we've got. We take off all of those masks, all of those fantasies, and just see that we've got a beautiful set of cards, right? So think about it. For me, all of these fantasies that I've lived through in my life led to me feeling unworthy, me being a people pleaser, me having to go through a deep journey of understanding and unlayering and peeling it off and healing and continuing to heal because it's not a destination, it's a journey. And really understanding that I'm playing my own hand. And I've got the same set of cards that I had years ago. Just learned how to really go into situations and win, right? And sometimes I'm not doing so good, but I keep playing it and I keep realizing that I have a new opportunity. And if I keep seeing it as an opportunity, I know that there's an opportunity for me to win, right? So if I don't see it as an opportunity I've already lost, I'm not going to play the cards or play them properly. So the core message here is stop wishing for a different life. Start reshuffling the game, the cards that you've got, until you finally see it playing the game that works for you, that is the winning hand. And I want you to, before we go, I want you to reflect on a couple of different things. Where are you still wishing for a different life? What are the fantasies that you're wishing for? And if you really was to write them down and break them down, what is the core thing underneath? Mine was feeling worthy, feeling loved, feeling liked, feeling adored, because I didn't feel that way. I felt like I said, a loser growing up. So if you are someone who's living in fantasy still, or you're telling people stories about who you are just to seem better, what is the root thing underneath it that you are trying to overcome? And what is your brain been trying to help you avoid dealing with? Because that's the way we're going to grow, right? And what game could you play right now differently with these same cards that you've got? If you change the game, what could be different? I really want you to think about this. And again, you can keep this for yourself, or if you want to share it with me, you can contact me and comment below or send me a private message across any of the social medias that you're connected with me. I love hearing from you. I love hearing your responses. Honestly, I truly, truly do. All right. I hope this has been a great episode for you. It's got you thinking, and it's a topic that maybe is relevant to you because it has been something powerful that's been brewing in my mind over the past week or so, because again, this is my weekly reflection point. So yeah, I'll be back later in the week with another episode of the podcast and next week with another episode of Dear Christiano. But until then, always remember that you've got this, I've got you. Bye for now.